On Capitol Hill now, negotiations to increase security along the U.S.-Mexico border could be falling apart. Talks between the White House and Senate continue, but there are new concerns that Donald Trump is trying to kill the bipartisan deal to bolster his re-election campaign. Meanwhile, hundreds of miles from Washington, the standoff between the state of Texas and the federal government continues. It's over a park where state law enforcement officers have been arresting migrants, charging them with criminal trespassing. CBS News immigration reporter Camila Montoyo-Galvez is joining us now from Eagle Pass, Texas, to bring us up to speed. The standoff between state and federal officials at Shelby Park is now in its third week. What is the situation on the ground like this morning?
Good morning, Emery. The status quo here in Eagle Pass has not changed materially in any way in recent days. In fact, we have seen National Guard soldiers continue to block federal Border Patrol agents from entering this public park in Eagle Pass that federal officials had been using as a staging area to process migrants. The Texas National Guard had been given until today by the Department of Homeland Security, Anne-Marie, to say that it will abandon this effort and allow Border Patrol agents back into the city-owned property to process migrants. But we have received no indication that Texas will relent. On the opposite impact, we have seen that Texas National Guard soldiers have continued to set up razor wire fencing and other barriers to impede the passage of migrants who are trying to cross into the country illegally. We have also seen now the Texas Department of Public Safety, Anne-Marie, arrest some adult migrant males and females here on state criminal trespassing charges. So this legal showdown between the White House and the state of Texas continues.
So has the state of Texas's sort of hardline approach here to migrants made an impact on how many people are actually crossing into the U.S.?
Well, it depends on who you ask, Anne-Marie. The number of migrants crossing into the U.S. illegally has plummeted since December, when more than 300,000 migrants were processed at and in between ports of entry here along the U.S.-Mexico border, an all-time high. But U.S. officials have attributed that drop in illegal crossings, Anne-Marie, to increased Mexican enforcement on the other side of the Rio Grande, and also to a seasonal pattern in which migration drops and slows down after the holiday season. And so Texas is arguing that it is deterring illegal migration through these efforts, including by setting up razor wire. And we have seen some migrants go back across the Rio Grande and go back to Mexico because of the razor wire. But we have also seen, Anne-Marie, the opposite of that. We have seen migrants crawl underneath the razor wire and still manage to get past these Texas National Guardsmen, who at that point have no option but to turn those migrants over to Border Patrol or to Texas state troopers.
So in Washington, the border battle has become now a bit of a political football. If lawmakers can't come to a deal, and we have reporting now that perhaps Donald Trump is sort of intervening in negotiations in the hopes to keep this a hot button political topic for his campaign. If they can't come to a deal, what does that mean for the months ahead at the border and those seeking to enter America?
Well, Anne-Marie, if these negotiations in Congress fail, that would mark another unsuccessful attempt to update the understaffed, overwhelmed, and outdated U.S. immigration system that has not been updated in any significant way since the 1990s. Congress has repeatedly tried to update the system over the past 3 decades, but Democrats and Republicans, as you know, have not been able to forge that agreement. We still understand that the White House and Senate negotiators are continuing these talks, and they are trying to still publish the framework of a deal sometime soon, but it is true that there are now very stark divisions within the Republican Party as to whether they should be supporting this potential compromise with the Biden administration. And the main reason for that being, and you alluded to this, Anne-Marie, is that former President Donald Trump, now the leader of the party, has come out against a potential deal and a compromise with the Biden administration. And as you know, former President Trump really wants to use this issue on the campaign trail to criticize President Biden.
All right, Camilo, thank you.